how is the persistence problem resolved? Because the most logical thing that comes to mind is increasing the frame rate, but I'm imagining there's probably some other way that's also dealt with.
Yeah, so you do black frame insertion.
Okay.
Um, it's another technology. You just keep the backlit on less. That's another thing that you can do. So you just so when you're displaying a frame, like the pixels are the liquid crystal display, it's basically always like in a certain state, but
Mhm.
the backlight can be turned on and off. And what you want to do is you want to keep the backlight turned off as long as possible. And and the reason why you can't just like flash it like on and off like as shortly as possible is because lenses, which are an important part of VR because it helps increase your FOV and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and distorts the actual display. Um, it the lenses causes light to be lost, and
Mhm.
so you have to have this trade-off between how long you keep your display on and how much light you want hitting your user's eyes. Most VR displays, from what I understand, are only produce like maybe 100 nits,
Mhm.
and that's like lower than most SDR displays, which usually reach 200 nits
Mhm. Mhm.
brightness.
I would imagine that with it being a much lower brightness, that also helps to counteract issues with people who are very photosensitive. Because if you're inserting black frames, I could imagine that could, like, with a certain displays could induce a seizure in certain people.
Um, well, you're doing it so fast.
Mm.
You're turning off the display light so fast that you can't really notice it
Right, right.
because your eyes just can't update as fast
Mhm.
as the light is producing. You kind of have this persistence to your eyes too.
Mhm.
Like if you're ever in a dark room and you wave your hand around, you see that motion blur that it gets, or you don't even need to be really in a dark room, but it
Mhm.
definitely makes the effect more noticeable. It's because your eyes take time to absorb light and it takes time to um, get rid of that information,
Mhm.
and that creates motion blur in real life.
Hmm. So, how did you get yourself involved in like wanting to do VR stuff? I assume you had interest in VR before you started working on ALVR.
Oh yeah, I just wanted a more immersive experience with every gaming and stuff.
Mhm.
And because VR mimics how your eyes see with parallax,
Mhm.
basically because your eyes are slightly to the right and slightly to the left, you have this slightly different view of the world in both eyes, and your
Mhm.
eyes can um, read depth from that information.
Mhm.
There's also a little bit more to that. Like there's this technology in VR called varifocal, which basically changes the focal point of your eyes. So your eyes don't have like if you stare at an object like your hand, you notice how the background is a little bit blurred. That's because your eyes can only focus at uh, certain distances at a
Mhm.
time, and that's because it has lens. Your eyes actually have a lens that it stretches and contracts to focus on different distance distances objects. You know, objects at different distances.
Mhm. Mhm. I just went to the Wikipedia page for Verifocal, and I don't know why this is the picture that's there, but the demo used is a picture of Tux, like the Linux penguin.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't actually know that.
I didn't know it either. I just wanted to find some information on Verifocal while you were talking about it.
Mhm.
So, how long have you had an interest in VR, and how long have you had an interest in actually working on this problem?
So I've had an interest for VR since I was probably in high school,
Mhm,
uh, probably around 2020,
mhm,
a long time ago, and I really only got interested in developing an for VR applications once I discovered a open source streaming app like LVR because you can't really work on a closed source
right,
uh, runtime of VR streaming application like you have on Windows
mhm,
with Oculus software, the official Oculus software.
right, right. You have to go get a job working at the company to be able to work on that.
Mhm.
So when did you become aware of ALVR?
I think I was browsing Reddit for open source alternatives because I kind of just always have a interest in figuring out how things work.
Mhm,
Um, Back when I was a child, I my parents and my grandparents would like buy me how it is made, like movie disc, and I would watch it, and
mhm, mhm,
I was always fascinated with it. And so I've always been kind of fascinated with how things work.
mhm. Okay, okay. So did you have any background with programming before you started getting involved in ALVR, or did you very much learn just from the start when you got there?
I did have some experience on other open source projects, and I was currently taking programming classes
Mhm,
at my high school at the time. So I did have a little bit of experience. I wouldn't say I'm the best dev
mhm,
in the
mhm.
world, but I do know a few